For more than 2,000 years, the greatest city of its age lay hidden beneath the sands of Mesopotamia. Akkad, the capital of the world's first empire, had vanished so completely that even the Babylonians who came after could not say where it once stood. Its walls crumbled, its palaces turned to dust, its name faded from all living memory. No king rebuilt it. No poet preserved its location for posterity. All that survived were stories carried on clay tablets, tales of a king born to a priestess, set adrift on the Euphrates in a basket of reeds, who rose from obscurity to conquer the entire known world. Those stories were true. And the city he built from nothing became the model for every imperial capital that followed, even though its precise location remains one of archaeology's greatest unsolved mysteries, a secret that the sands of Iraq still refuse to yield. Before Sargon, Mesopotamia was a patchwork of independent Sumerian city-states. Uruk, Lagash, Kish, Nippur, Eridu, each had its own king, its own patron god, its own standing army and towering defensive walls. They traded grain and textiles across the wide fertile floodplain, fought bitter wars over water rights and borderlands, and competed endlessly for status and religious prestige. The technology of writing was already centuries old, having evolved from simple pictographs to the complex cuneiform script that would dominate the Near East for thousands of years. The wheel had transformed transport and warfare. The first great ziggurats rose toward the heavens, temples built as stairways between earth and the divine realm. The Sumerians had invented the city, the school, the law code, and the very concept of kingship itself. But political unity on a large scale remained stubbornly beyond their reach. No king had ever managed to conquer all the others and hold them together as one lasting domain. The world was not yet ready for an empire on such a scale. According to the legend passed down through Mesopotamian history, Sargon was born in complete obscurity. His mother was a high priestess of Inanna, forbidden by temple law to bear a child. She placed him in a basket woven from reeds, sealed the lid with river pitch, and set him adrift on the Euphrates. A gardener named Aki found the basket on the riverbank and raised the child as his own son. The young Sargon entered the service of Yorzababa, the king of Kish, and became his cupbearer, a position of intimate trust that gave him access to the palace and its secrets. Then came a dream that changed the course of history. Yorzababa dreamed that Sargon would sit upon his throne and rule in his place. Fearing betrayal, the king plotted to have his cupbearer killed. But Sargon escaped the palace, gathered supporters among the disaffected nobility, raised an army, and struck first. The gardener's son became king of Kish, the oldest and most prestigious city in all of Sumer. Sargon did not stop at Kish. Over 34 military campaigns, he conquered every major Sumerian city in a systematic and relentless drive for supremacy. He defeated Lugal-Zagisi of Uruk, the most powerful ruler of the age, who had himself conquered all of Sumer just before Sargon's rise. Sargon paraded his defeated rival through the streets of Nippur in a wooden neck collar for all the assembled citizens to witness. Then he turned west, marching his Akkadian army across the Syrian desert on a route that no Mesopotamian army had ever successfully traversed. He reached the Mediterranean Sea, the upper sea of Mesopotamian tradition, and washed his weapons in its waters to proclaim his dominion over the entire civilized world. From the Persian Gulf in the south to the coast of Lebanon in the west, no king dared stand against him. He founded a new capital at Akkad, a city built from desert earth to be the center of an empire, and declared himself king of all lands. Sargon built the first standing army in recorded history, 5,400 men who ate at the king's table every day, loyal not to their home city or local lord but to their commander alone. He appointed Akkadian governors to rule over the conquered Sumerian cities, replacing local kings with imperial administrators who answered directly to him and sent regular reports to the capital. He standardized weights and measures across his entire domain, enabling tax collection and long-distance trade on an unprecedented scale. He established trade routes that stretched from Dilmun, in modern Bahrain, across the Arabian Gulf to Magan in Oman and onward to Meluha, the Indus Valley civilization, bringing timber, copper, carnelian, lapis lazuli, and exotic woods into the heart of Mesopotamia. The empire maintained a postal system with relay riders, imperial roads with guarded way stations, and a single administrative language that replaced Sumerian in all official documents, taxation records, and royal inscriptions. Among Sargon's most remarkable acts was the appointment of his daughter, Enheduanna, as high priestess of the moon god Nanna in the great temple complex of Ur. She was far more than a religious figurehead. Enheduanna wrote poetry of extraordinary emotional power, hymns to the goddess Inanna that survive on clay tablets unearthed by archaeologists in the 20th century at the site of Ur. Her carefully crafted verses make her the first named author in all of world history, predating Homer by more than 1,000 years and the earliest books of the Hebrew Bible by even longer. She wrote of her exile from Ur during a political rebellion led by a Sumerian general, of her desperate prayers to her goddess for restoration, and of her triumphant return. Her voice, speaking across 4,000 years with clarity and passion, is the voice of a brilliant woman navigating the male world of imperial politics, religion, and warfare. Sargon's grandson, Naram-Sin, took the Akkadian Empire to its greatest height and its most audacious claim. He crushed a massive rebellion of 17 kings and 400,000 rebels, a campaign recorded in both contemporary Akkadian inscriptions and later Babylonian copies that were studied in scribal schools for centuries after. He expanded the empire into the Taurus mountains of Anatolia and the Zagros foothills of western Iran, bringing new peoples and resources under Akkadian control. And he did something no Mesopotamian ruler had ever dared. He declared himself a living god in his own lifetime, placing his name in cuneiform inscriptions with the divine determinative reserved for deities. The victory stele of Naram-Sin, carved in pink limestone and now displayed in the Louvre Museum in Paris, shows the king ascending a mountainside, crowned with the horned helmet of divinity, his enemies fleeing or dying before him. The inscription calls him king of the four quarters, ruler of the entire known world. After Naram-Sin, the empire began to fracture under mounting pressure. Gutian tribes from the Zagros mountains launched increasingly devastating raids on the northern frontier, penetrating deeper into Akkadian territory with each passing year. Shah Kalishari, the last strong Akkadian king, spent his entire reign fighting defensive wars against the Gutian horde, unable to mount the kind of offensive campaigns that had defined his predecessors. The irrigation canals, the lifeblood of Mesopotamian agriculture, silted up from neglect as the imperial administration weakened. The harvests failed. The cities of the south, Ur and Uruk and Lagash, reasserted their independence one by one as Akkadian governors lost control. A Sumerian poem written soon after the fall, known today as the Curse of Akkad, tells the story as divine punishment for Naram-Sin's arrogance. The goddess Inanna abandoned her beloved city, the gods withdrew their favor from the land, and Akkad was left to be devoured by barbarian hordes. The Gushans sacked the capital. Within a generation, the First Empire was gone. The city of Akkad was never rebuilt. Its exact location remains one of archaeology's great unsolved mysteries, debated between scholars who place it near modern Baghdad, those who search the desert north of Kish, and those who believe it lies beneath the alluvial plain, buried too deep for excavation. But the Akkadian language survived the empire's collapse with remarkable resilience. It became the lingua franca of the ancient Near East for more than 2,000 years, used for diplomacy, trade, law, and literature by Babylonians, Assyrians, Hittites, Canaanites, and Persian administrators long after Sargon's dynasty had passed into legend. The very model of empire itself, the idea that one ruler could govern diverse peoples across vast distances under a single administration, became the dominant political form of the next 4 millennia. Every emperor who followed, from Hammurabi to Alexander to Napoleon, walked a path that a cupbearer's son from the city of Kish first carved into the earth.